All right, today we're jumping into something really important, a whole new playbook for military leadership. This isn't about the wars of the past, nope. This is a vision for the complex, super fast-paced challenges of tomorrow. And the stakes have never been higher, so let's dive right in.
So, what does it actually take to lead in an era of constant change and, invisible threats? That's really the core question we're exploring today, because let's be honest, the old answers just aren't cutting it anymore.
To really get why we need a new playbook, first we have to understand the new battlefield. And spoiler alert, it's probably not what you're picturing.
For generations, military leadership was pretty straightforward. It was defined by commanding physical forces, tanks, ships, infantry, things you could see. But just look at the threats leaders face today. We're talking about AI-driven drone swarms, crippling cyber attacks that can take down an entire power grid, and disinformation campaigns that can destabilize a whole nation without a single shot ever being fired. The very nature of conflict is fundamentally changed.
And here's the problem. The manuals and the doctrines that have been shaping military officers for decades, well, they just weren't written for this new world. There's this huge gap between the challenges leaders are facing and the resources they have to actually prepare for them.
So, that gap brings us to the proposed solution, a totally updated leadership playbook, one that's designed specifically for this modern era.
It's a project called the Armed Forces Officer 2025. And you can think of it like a new operating system for leaders. It's not just for soldiers on the front lines either. It's also for the academics who study this stuff and the policymakers who are making huge strategic decisions. It's all about bridging that gap between big ideas and what you actually do on the ground.
Now, the entire argument of this new playbook really comes down to three foundational pillars.
And these aren't just three separate ideas thrown together. They're presented as three interconnected, absolutely essential legs of a stool. If one of them is weak, the whole structure of leadership could come crashing down.
So what are they? Okay, number one, a robust ethical framework. Number two, the strategic integration of technology. And number three, a deep, real commitment to diversity and inclusion. Now let's break down what each of these really means.
Let's kick things off with that first pillar, ethics.
So, pillar one is ethics. And this is not just about following a checklist of rules. It's about having a moral compass that's deeply ingrained. In modern warfare, where a single decision can have massive, unforeseen consequences, the source argues that solid ethical reasoning is absolutely non-negotiable. It has to be part of every leader's toolkit.
And the whole goal here is to equip leaders to navigate complex moral dilemmas. I mean, think about it. Making a call on deploying an AI weapon, or figuring out how to respond to a humanitarian crisis. The ethical part is right there, front and center.
All right, pillar number two, technology. And this is way more than just having the coolest new gadgets. It's about strategically weaving things like AI, cyber warfare, and information ops into every single part of planning and execution. A modern leader has to be just as fluent in technology as they are in tactics.
And this is a perfect example of how these pillars connect. The key phrase here is responsible AI deployment. See? It's not just about using the tech. Leaders have to understand the ethical and legal side of things to use it responsibly. It all ties back together.
And that brings us to the third pillar, diversity and inclusion. Now, this is framed not as some kind of social initiative, but as a core strategic advantage. The whole argument is that teams made up of people with different backgrounds, different experiences, and different ways of thinking are just flat out better at solving complex problems. So the crucial takeaway here is this. Fostering diversity isn't just about doing the right thing. It's about doing the smart thing. It's something that directly leads to better outcomes, sparks innovation, and boosts the effectiveness of the entire mission, especially when you're in some chaotic, unpredictable situation.
But the vision for this new kind of leader doesn't just stop with those three pillars. It actually goes a lot deeper into other really critical areas of what it means to lead.
Yeah, this new playbook takes a much more holistic view of leadership. It digs into crucial topics like mental health and building true resilience in the force. It hammers home the importance of international cooperation with allies, and it pushes for a culture of lifelong learning using amazing tools like AI simulations to prep for those high-pressure crisis moments. It's really about developing the entire person, not just the tactician.
So at the end of the day, who is this new playbook actually for, and what's the ultimate goal?
Well, this isn't just a manual for a young officer.
The intended audience is incredibly broad. We're talking active military professionals, of course, but also the academics and students who are going to shape the next generation of strategic thinking, and right up to the policymakers and government whose decisions affect everyone.
Ultimately, maybe the most powerful thing about this guide is how it connects the big ideas, the why we do things, with the practical, actionable steps, the how we do them. It's not just about describing what a modern leader should be, but showing them how they can actually get there.
And that leaves us with one final big question. This framework gives us 3 pillars for today: ethics, technology, and diversity. But as our world keeps changing at what feels like light speed, what do you think will be the next essential pillar of leadership? Something to think about.